Hello everybody, this is Queen Lenora Hall. How are you doing today? Okay, so today's topic is premarital advice. So I decided every Wednesday to come to you with some premarital advice because people get married and not understanding there's so much more than just a wedding. You have Bridezilla, you have Monster Man, I guess, I don't know. But we don't have any advice about marriage. So the main thing, the first cause of the marriage ending is communication. So we're definitely going to talk about communication. And next what comes with that will also be the emotions. So this communication, there's so many different levels for communication. Just so you know, there's communication for definitely listening, and that's the one we're going to talk about today. You need to be able to listen, especially when you're in an argument, or especially when you're in daily conversations with your spouse. You want to be able to listen to that person. The reason you want to listen to that person because it is important that the person understands. So people go, I heard you. Well, we're not talking about hearing, because usually when I'm hearing something, I'm thinking about something totally different. So I'm thinking about this over here, and I'm hearing you, and I can now want to respond. Or I'm arguing with you, so I'm hearing you, but I'm just thinking about my rebuttal back to you. We don't want to do that. We want to actually listen, take time. So I have some steps. You want to listen to one another. That's number one. Number two, you want to understand what the person is saying. It is so important to understand what that person is saying, because they're telling you what they feel and their emotion. And even if you don't agree with it, it's theirs. And it's all right. So you see how I put that little emotion in there? Yeah, because emotion comes with it. So remember that. So then you want to acknowledge it. So I want to acknowledge that I was listening to you. I was hearing you. I get what you're saying. And then after you acknowledge, you want to respond to the person instead of what was already in your head. You want to respond to what they were saying, not what you think they were saying, or they said this in the beginning, so I'm focused on that conversation. You want to respond to what they're saying in a whole conversation, because they really are saying something to you. And you have to understand, you are two different people, so you think differently. You were raised differently. You have a different background from each other. And even with siblings, they've been raised the same way, but they dealt with things differently. Mom and dad put more responsibility because you're older, or you're younger, or you're a middle child, or, boy versus girl. So they have different reaction to what mom and dad did. So it is so nice if you can understand. And if you're a guy, you think differently than a woman. If you're a woman, you think differently than a guy. So remember that as well. So I'm just looking at my notes. So you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes because I want to make sure I cover everything, because this is so important in a relationship. Then explain where you're coming from. So now I get what you're saying. So now you got what they're saying. You acknowledged it. You listen, and you respond. Now your response is, I get what you're saying, but now on my end, I am thinking about this and this and this, and this is how I was reacting to it because I thought about such and such and such, and it really didn't have the same clue, or we're thinking the same, we're just saying it differently. So you kind of eliminate a lot of arguments if you can communicate right. And nobody has ever trained us to really communicate right. So this is the biggest step of communication, is listening. So you definitely want to listen. And then once you explain where you're coming from, don't be condescending. Don't be saying it like they're stupid or they're dumb or anything like that. And you don't do any name calling. So when you're listening, don't come with that stupid idea. That was dumb. Don't say that, because then that person is shut down. And now they're only thinking about what they want to say, or they might not say nothing at all. You don't want them to shut down in the communication. It doesn't make you win in a communication. And when you're doing the premarital advice, I always give this advice, and it's a big advice that you need to understand. When you're arguing, or when you guys are discussing things, or when you guys do not agree on things, there's no winner. And there's no loser. Because if one wins, you both win. If one loses, you both lose. So remember that. That is very something. Because when you join together, you're joining as one. So remember that. So the case is, I'm not trying to win. I just want us to agree. Even if we agree to disagree, let's do it this way. Who gets to pick which way to go? Because even if a person messes up and gives you the wrong directions or gives you the wrong advice and you do it, or you pay the wrong bill at the wrong time, they will never learn unless they make that mistake. And we as human beings like to try to stop people from making mistakes. And it is necessary for everybody to make mistakes, because you learn from mistakes. But if you don't never make mistakes, you can't never learn from mistakes. Good advice even from when you're parenting. Good advice from when you get to talk to your friends and you think they're making a mistake. This is good advice all around. It's not just good advice for people who are getting married. It's good advice all the way around. But you remember, when you get married, you're about to join and become one. So remember that. Now with this, the reason I chose expressing your emotions, because people hide their emotions when they're on a defense. So when you're on the defensive line, you don't want to show your emotions because you feel like that's a sign of weakness. But if you can't be weak with your partner, then who can you be weak with? And that causes a lot of issues. If I could be more weak with my friends and my family than the person I'm going to be one with, because that means I can't be real with myself, because you're my other half. I love you. You love me. I want you to be able to tell me your deepest, darkest secrets. I want you to be able to tell me when you're sad, upset, emotional, what you're scared about, because I'm not there to tear you down. And that's what you want to get from that person, is I'm not going to tear you down. So remember that. So emotions are very there. You want to be able to give your emotion. So sometimes women cry as their emotion. Doesn't mean they're weak. Doesn't mean they're trying to persuade you to their side. It's just that they feel so passionate about it that the next thing comes out is tears. That's how we do it. Or a man can get so emotional and get mad and then they just standoffish. So remember those things. So in your emotion, you want to think before you speak. You want to breathe. Very necessary to breathe. And then you want to speak from your heart about the situation. So see how listening and emotion goes together? You want to do that. And you don't ever want to attack the person. So you don't want to, when you're arguing, especially when you're arguing, get up in their face because they feel attacked. You want to stay a distance away unless you're going to, I need to hug you. I need to hold your hand because I feel like we're off track. I need to hug you. So those hormones of hugging each other is embracing it to change the dynamic of what the room is feeling like at that moment. Because you know when you get heated, it is. So if you stop and say, I just need to hug you. And we can finish this conversation, but I want to hug you. So the dynamic, the change, so you can get the right response. The reason you breathe is the same reason. I need to breathe because I'm getting too emotional. So I'm not going to start speaking about the situation. I'm going to bring all this ammunition up from here to here to there. So those emotions you want to keep under control a little, but you still want them to be free. So you just want to make sure you control your emotions better. You know, everybody want to go to lunch and they got to go in a single file line, because if they don't, they just break out like that and you can't control the situation. That's what breathing is. You want to control what your emotions is. You want to speak the truth about your emotions. You don't want to hide it, but you want to be able to come out, and you want the person to be able to accept it. And if you come out angry, that it ends. And I just did it today. So I did not breathe and I just went out because I was so angry. So remember to do that. And I have to, it's a constant thing to do because we weren't raised to do this. So remember that as well. And like I said, you don't want to attack the person at all. So you want to just, you're attacking the situation in a positive way. And then watch your body language, because women, if you, and men, or however the case may be, that will change the dynamic of your relationship in this argument as well. Because now, you, even though you might be listening to everything I'm saying, your actions, your body language is telling me that you're not paying me no attention. So even though you could quote everything I said, okay, you heard me, but you wasn't listening to me. You heard everything I said, so you quoted everything you told me back? Yeah, you quoted it. Okay, that's fine, you quoted it. But I don't believe you heard. I don't believe you were listening. I believe you heard me, but I don't believe you listened because of the way your body language. So don't be like this, women. And then they'll shut down. I ain't got nothing to say. Never mind. Whatever. Don't do that, man. Whatever, you ain't gonna listen to me anyway. What? with the remote, watching TV. That is not how you're going to deal with it. So your body language has a lot to do with it too, as well. You'd be like, well, I didn't say nothing. But did your body language talk for you? Those are things I tell my kids all the time. It really is not always about what comes out your mouth. It's your actions. And if you're not following with your actions, guess what? You lost the situation. So remember that. So I hope that helped you. We went over premarital advice on communication and body, expressing your emotions. So I'm just going to go real quick, and here we go. You want to listen to one another. You want to understand what the other person is saying. You want to acknowledge it. You want to respond to what the person is saying instead of what you were already thinking about. You want to then explain where you're coming from, and you don't want to be condescending. Very important rule. And when you express your emotion, you want to think before you speak. You want to breathe. You want to speak from your heart about the situation, not attacking anybody. So do not attack the person. And watch your body language. And remember to love and live each day as if it were your last. Smooching.